Good Monday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, watching the tropics pretty closely here. Off the southeastern coast, we do see a tropical disturbance here trying to get its act together. May end up getting a name or at least becoming a tropical depression here as we're looking ahead later this morning, as odds have increased to about 70% or so on this becoming something before it crosses the coast here. Looking like around the Georgia, South Carolina border, somewhere around Savannah, give or take. But some of that moisture going to be coming down toward areas around Brunswick. So I know we have that logo red. We want people to be kind of aware of what could happen here later today with some increased moisture there in toward parts of maybe Glenn County, Camden County here. Also maybe getting over toward Pierce, Brantley County. Kind of get the idea there as we're looking towards some of our southeastern Georgia zones. But I think it looks like around areas there near Brunswick will have the worst of the weather here later today. You see that thunderstorm activity on the infrared satellite imagery is trying to get a little bit better defined here, closer to where the center is. I know I've been seeing some wind shear with this morning, so not quite enough for it to become designated yet. But I know the Hurricane Center did send out some updated information. In fact, I'm going to read that off to you, that as of about the 8 a.m. update here, and I'll go ahead and switch you on over as well here, away from this source over toward the actual outlook, since you kind of maybe want to see what we're talking about here in terms of the probabilities, in terms of the formation areas. So there's your outlook there. You're able to see kind of what I'm talking about with things as we go ahead and talk about the red area there, that red X off the coast there of Georgia, off of South Carolina. The Hurricane Center saying that a well-defined low-pressure system located about 190 miles east-southeast of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, is producing a large area of showers and thunderstorms, mainly west of the center, and that any additional increase in the organization here of the thunderstorm activity would result in the issuance of advisories here for a tropical depression or a tropical storm here, maybe later this morning or afternoon. And the low's moving pretty quick now. It's going to go over the Gulf Stream, so that could be a factor. Maybe that's intensifying here into something becoming just organized enough here to be designated. But we're talking about a system that's moving west northwest at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. So it's a quick mover. It's going to be in and out pretty quick. But again, Brunswick up the coast as well. Going to be watching for maybe some isolated flash flooding, as there is a marginal risk according to the Weather Prediction Center today. We'll talk about that rainfall forecast here in a moment. See that live radar here as well, as the system should reach the coast of southern South Carolina or Georgia by this evening. And if advisories are initiated, then tropical storm warnings could be required for a portion of the Georgia and South Carolina coast with short notice here. So regardless of development, though, a few inches of rain possible along the immediate coast there of Georgia and southern South Carolina. And another note here, as we're looking, the Air Force unit there, the Air Force Reserve Unit reconnaissance aircraft is scheduled to go out there to investigate this system this afternoon. So might get a designation a little bit later on if we don't have something earlier on. As you also see another area on the screen, I'll point this out to you as well here. We do have this orange area. That's a system we'll be watching long term. It's a broad area, not too concerned right now, but we'll keep our eyes on it because you just never know this time of year here in the hurricane season. Things can get going. It seems like getting going kind of early as we look at those names right here on our name list. You do see we've already crossed off 3 of them: Anna, Bill, and Claudette. And now Danny will be the next one here. Then we have Elsa. Elsa will be your name after that. So could end up getting 2 of them this week, maybe, maybe not. It just kind of depends on how things get going. So we don't want to hone in too much on those names here at this point. But again, there's kind of an idea of where we're kind of going here with this hurricane season. And in terms of tropical climatology, I kind of referenced it. Really not a hot time here, a high time in terms of that development probability. But you see, there is some chance, and definitely going to have some things to watch out there, as we've talked about in here over the next 2 days or so. You do see again here, as we're live on this special update here this morning. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud tracking things here with the tropical disturbance off the coast. You see here that rainfall forecast showing around Brunswick, maybe up toward areas around Darien, Georgia, there in McIntosh County, getting some heavier rainfall here. Most of this from our system, which could become Danny here as we are looking ahead in the timeline. But it's not a certainty that does happen. It could just be a depression, even depending on how the winds are found. It may become tropical, but not enough to actually get that name status here. So we'll just have to wait and see. But again, some rain impact there. We'll be watching for that in that area. And then as we go ahead and look at our tropical threat index, that kind of came up with this, looking at some different parameters here. It seems as if down toward North Florida there, over toward South Central, Southwest Georgia, and the Big Bend, just kind of peripheral impacts here. Going to be seeing some moisture storms maybe form on the edges of the system here. As we're kind of seeing some contrasting in the overall setup, but as we're getting closer toward north here, toward Brunswick, getting more into the axial system itself, so that's why the impact there a little bit higher. Could have a little bit of training of rain there, maybe an isolated tornado threat. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. As I have some other things I can say here real quick here. We do have our tornado parameters. That's something I can pull up in our system here. So let me go ahead and go over there to be able to see what I'm talking about with this. As we switch away from the graphics for now, we see our model forecast, which we're going to be kind of getting into here in a few minutes, seeing how things are simulated. But here is our significant tornado parameter. You do see with this, that area there on the southwestern side per se of things, we have a little bit higher chance of a tornado according to our computer system. So I just kind of track that along with me here. You see our little icons with the model forecast going on off. You see them in toward Georgia as well. Maybe something to watch for Atlanta even later on for some increase in rain activity there. Maybe an isolated tornado threat. We'll just have to wait and see in that regard. But you kind of see on the southern side of things, maybe that clipping some of our northern, northeastern counties is something we'll be watching here. As we do have some of the other parameters in play as well. We have that energy here in the picture. So something we'll be keeping our eyes on for sure here in this setup. And while we're on with this update this morning, I do want to give you that 7-day forecast. Let me go ahead and go over there. Just if you want to get that here a little bit earlier on and maybe kind of go about your day here, since it's not going to be too big of an impact towards Dark, toward Gainesville, toward Jacksonville overall, just some peripheral impacts here overall with that setup with maybe an increase in that thunderstorm action on the edges of things. But you see 60% chance, again, more watching for southeast Georgia. Up toward the west, chances lower, especially southwest Georgia. They look pretty low out that way today if you're watching from Bainbridge, for instance. But you see tomorrow a little lower in the rain chances. As we get toward your Wednesday, though, you see those chances rise back on up. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then toward that 4th of July here. I know that's really important. I'll go ahead and say you that on our outlook. You see, as we get toward that weekend here, those temperatures staying pretty steady, but watching that rain here around, might have to be cognizant of some lightning potential as well, not with that tropical threat here as we're looking now, and maybe not with any type of tropical threat overall, but just something to kind of watch out for here as we're looking longer term. We'll be kind of keeping our eyes on things here in the Weather Center for sure. But let's go ahead and go back on over now to some of our different systems. Again, there's our spin out there. You see a pretty good organized spin. Just have to kind of get a little more organized with the actual thunderstorm action. It might have ourselves a tropical system out here. And then I know we're also watching our Doppler radar as well. So let me go ahead and pop that on up. Let me go ahead and switch you on over there. You do see even some peripheral action already getting going in toward the First Coast region, but then up towards southeastern Georgia, some rain in play, gusty winds, at least to a little bit of a level there as we get toward Charleston, about 16 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. You kind of get the idea, but down toward the south here, we see some of this rain just coming into the radar view. A lot of it's still offshore, so we're not seeing everything, but you see some light rain as we're getting up toward McIntosh and Liberty. Instead of our area here toward Darien, maybe a little bit in northern Glenn County, but then getting some heavier action on the edges of things as we've talked about, kind of getting this formation to occur. You see a little heavier shower there around Durban, and this will be impacting areas there as we're getting into toward parts of St. Johns County over the next little bit. So something to watch out for with this. I'm just going to be kind of seeing how some of these storms kind of form on the edges here. Could get strong at times. We'll just have to wait and see with that. But more of that summertime pattern kind of contrasting here with our tropical system that's trying to get on going. So something to kind of watch out for here as we look in our timeline. And then as we go on over now, I do want to kind of see that timeline a little bit better now. We'll go ahead and switch you on over here toward our model information, I think. So let me go ahead and go to that source now. We'll be able to show you what we're talking about there. We'll be able to kind of get an idea of what's going on here this morning. Again, watching things with a special live update. We're only going to be on for a few more minutes, but we'll be on as needed here during the day. If necessary, we're kind of play it by ear here with things as we're watching the overall setup. But again, this is our forecast model here. You do see around 8 a.m. or so. It's doing a pretty good job. And then you see some of the action kind of coming into view here as we're getting toward Glenn County around noon, give or take. That's when conditions will kind of go downhill there toward Camden and Glenn maybe some peripheral action here as we're getting down toward the I-75 corridor. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, this is around 16Z. If you kind of barely see it in the right corner there, that's noon. And then as we kind of advance the timeline even further here, you see 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Some of that accent kind of forming on the edge here, but then towards southeast Georgia, more concentrated, adding up those rainfall totals as you saw on that Weather Prediction Center outlook. So something we'll be watching toward Glenn County here today, and Camden even as well. And you kind of still see that hanging around. We're all the way up to about, it looks like 8 o'clock tonight, and we still have that moisture hanging around. So forecast overall just for a couple inches, but some spots could get 3, 4, 5 inches if things set up the wrong way. So we're watching overall, though, again, a lot of the area is not going to even get rain today. I mean, I would say 40 to 50% of the area is not even going to get any rain at all on this Monday. But again, southeast Georgia, we're going to be watching here that moisture kind of hanging around. This gets you to about 11 o'clock or so. It starts to kind of break up, but you see that spin there going across central Georgia eventually, and then ultimately toward Atlanta. We'll kind of see how that progresses here as we get. This is all the way to Tuesday afternoon now. I'll move the map up. You see that spin there toward parts of the Atlanta metro area. So we'll have to see if that causes any isolated tornadoes maybe in that region, or just some gusty winds at times and some heavy rain. It may not be too big of a deal, but we'll be watching here for you, of course, from the Weather Center as we just continue to track things here, checking the chat session to see if there's anything new. Not really seeing anything new at this point. Let's go on over to another viewpoint that we have in our Weather Center as we're watching things, about to wrap it up here on this Monday morning on this special update. For now, of course, we'll be here as needed, though. If we need to come on, we'll do so. If there's a tornado warning for any part of our area, that's our policy here, to always come on and stay on. Now, that does include Camden, Glen there along the coast. It does not include McIntosh, though, or further up the southeast Georgia coast. But again, and then it also does, though, include areas further inland, but the chances of that developing a threat there are a little bit lower, probably more of a coastal isolated threat as we're getting toward Camden and Glen here. So again, just something to kind of keep our eyes on. Let me go ahead now and switch you on over toward our dear Earth one more time. You see that spin here off the coast. You see our model forecast, our model information clustered pretty good here. But again, the center's not going to have all the action, some of that to the north, some of it to the south here. So something to watch even for Charleston there, getting up toward, it looks like areas there in toward parts of southeast South Carolina. Again, maybe tropical alerts up in that area. Not really watching maybe tropical alerts toward Nassau County. If we get any for our area, again, probably toward Camden and Glen, more likely Glen even. As we're looking toward that region, the Weather Service, I'm talking yesterday, maybe those winds would even stay further north, so that's something to kind of keep our eyes out for as well. That'd be some good news, of course. But we'll be watching, we'll be tracking here. You see that spin, you can kind of get the idea of how things are going to be evolving here throughout the day. We'll keep you updated as needed from the Weather Center, but for now, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. Thanks so much for tuning in here on this Monday morning.